Between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everybody and welcome to VRRC for the midway point of the season in the Academy Race Series. I'm Ed May and joining me in the commentary box for this evening is Dave Marshall, and we come to one of my favourite circuits. And I'm not biased at all just because I'm from here, Norfolk, UK, Snetterton, the 300 layout, which plays host to the fourth round of the championship. Second longest circuit in the UK, the Snetterton 300 layout, just behind the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. And it's a circuit, the Snetterton layout, that has been host to teams such as in the past the Lotus Formula One team, and as well was actually the site where Bentley tested their Le Mans winning Bentley Speed 8 and winning Le Mans that year. So a great venue, not only for racing, but also for developing cars, and for the most part of this championship, developing the drivers. You can see that this MX-5 championship makes part of a bigger championship. We're here at Snetterton 300, and then in a week's time we go to Thruxton, and then round out the season in a couple of weeks' time at another great circuit, Cadwell Park. And you can see, like we mentioned, it's part of a grander scale of a series. We have the Mazda MX-5, the Audi TT Cup, Formula 4 and the Caterham 420R. Means that the drivers will need to develop different skills as the season progresses. As soon as they get used to one car, bang, they're into a next one. And we can see the prizes that are on offer. First place gets you 2 hours of one-to-one online coaching, and of course the first place winners cap. Second gets you 1 hour one-to-one online coaching and a second place winners cap. And then third place gets you a 1 hour race car setup coaching and the third place winners cup. And we can see last time out at Donington Park, these were the top 3 drivers: Simon Reed, Mick Sutton, and Kobe Liekens. And well, what a story coming out of Donington Park. Kobe Liekens getting his first ever VRRC race victory in great fashion in the final race of the evening. And from his performance, it wasn't surprising that he won our driver of the round, was it, Dave?
Yeah, exactly that. Kobe put on exactly what we wanted to see. Super consistent, super clean, and a driver with real improvements since the start of the championship. So yeah, really impressive drive so far by Kobe.
Yeah, we can see now the championship standings. Simon Reed at the top of the pile. He's just ahead, isn't he, of Mick Sutton in second place. And Mick's been very consistent all season long. There's not been a race where he hasn't taken a trip to the podium. He's going to be hoping for a similar run of form here this evening at Snetterton. Andy Dorman there in third place. He was doing great for a time, but then a really calamitous race evening at Donington Park saw him fall out of favour a little bit. Sam Milner in fourth, ahead of Luke Weston, with Alex Bennett, Simon Thorpe, Teddy Hines, Kobe Liekens. That has really shaken up his performance, hasn't it? The 51 points to his name. He's really shot up the order with. And then James McGill down there in 10th place. But we do come to the phase where we have a little bit of a look at qualifying. I think it's just a few minutes away. But actually, qualifying, I think, is already getting started. So let's go, shall we, Dave, to your hot lap of this Snetterton circuit.
So across the line here at Snetterton 300, down towards turn 1, and we're not even going to touch the brakes, just thrown into the corner, not too much steering input you'd see, down into 4th gear, and just using the tyre scrub just to roll enough speed off to make it through the corner. Incredibly late on the brakes just before the Wilson sign on the right, down to 2nd, and you can see using the throttle to really rotate that car mid-corner. The car's got a good enough pickup just to start to break the back end there. Into 4th gear for the left hand here, no brake again, just rolling the speed and waiting for them front tyres to grip in. When them front tyres grip up, then getting on the throttle and power out. Now down to this hairpin, quite a different line on approach, being relatively middle of the road on the brakes, down to 2nd, but you can see really tighten the exit of the corner up, really enable us to get on the throttle and get that great corner exit. Into 4th gear through Hamilton, no brake, no lift of throttle, completely flat, a little bit of run wide there, but you want to keep it nailed through there. Down to 3rd gear, picking up the throttle there from the inside curb all the way out, and yet again coming onto the Williams straight here, no brake, just holding it in 3rd and getting nice and early on the throttle and onto the Bentley straight. This is going to be probably your best opportunity for an overtake down here. It's going to be a case of who's the latest on the brakes or who's got the slipstream down towards the bridge. Now you've got to make sure you want to get it down to 3rd gear before you get any right hand or down on the wheel. Getting the front end turned in nice and early. Don't try and outbrake yourself into there because the car will just really push forward. In through the bomb hole, completely flat, not a bother in these cars. And then into the last right hander before the left king. So you'll see I'm going to let the car just wash slightly to the middle of the track just so I can tighten the end of the corner, get the car nice and straight down to 3rd and turned in early and on throttle. You'll notice a real trait for this car is if you're too hard on the brakes, the car doesn't want to rotate and the front end will just want to push on. And there we go across the line.
So that was Dave Marshall, as ever, wonderfully talking you through a lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit. And we can see now some of the drivers out on qualifying. And this is one of the new drivers to the championship, Brad Smith. And he's definitely going to be looking to make some sort of an impression here in his first outing, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. Just obviously a driver that had seen either the YouTube or the Facebook clip and decided he wanted to get involved, even though it's mid-season through the MX-5. Went, that's a bit of me, and here he is. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how he gets on tonight. And looking at the pre-practice times prior to qualifying, he's actually looking like a real contender to be fighting for them podium positions.
Yeah, so we'll certainly see how that goes ahead. Of course, the times that we've seen on the left-hand side of the screen there aren't representative whatsoever. These are just outlaps. Drivers trying to get their tyres up to temperature and now doing their first laps in anger. We can see Brad Smith there coming through Oggies, I believe that is, trying to get his car underway as he comes through Williams now. Looks to the outside, careful not to run too wide. There is a little bit of a runoff that you can take in real life, but I think the scan of this circuit hasn't quite got all of that. And then down the Bentley straight into Brundle and Nelson. A great spot to sit if you're a spectator, just to see the cars cascade their way in, sending it in and hard onto the brakes into the right-hander. It's very well to avoid that curb on the inside, because that can really upset the run down through this final sector, Dave.
Yeah, interesting enough, you took my vision away a bit there, because when you said Bentley straight and you mentioned about the fun fact about Bentley testing it, I wonder whether that's where the name comes from. I never put the two and two together before, so yeah, interesting enough. But yeah, exactly right, going under the bridge there, and yet again that last corner, the two quite similar corners, even though they're the opposite way around. So under the bridge you've got a left into a right-hander where you need all your braking round the left-hander, trail braking it round but getting off before you turn right, and the same for the last corner. You've got a long right where you're trail braking, you want to get your braking done before you turn left. So two similar corners and a hell of a lot of time that you can lose there if you get the braking wrong or don't quite get the turn in.
Yeah, so we've seen the first times getting set now, and well, Smith finds himself second place at the moment, does Brad, just ahead of Andy Dorman and Sam Milner. Slightly behind again, though the time's not too electric. We'll expect the pole position lap time to be probably somewhere in the low 2:07s, I believe, but the tyre temperature isn't quite there just yet, and as well, drivers do need to take a couple of laps just to get their eye in with the track conditions and all of that good stuff. So we come now to Mick Sutton making his way through Oggies and then into Williams, a crucial corner, I think, like you alluded to on your hot lap, because this long run down the Bentley straight, and you were right, it is named after Bentley because they tested their Le Mans winning speed 8 around this circuit. A bit different to Le Mans is Snetterton, definitely in terms of track layout. Also weather, not going to be as sunny as the middle of France, but hey ho, make do with what you have. And well, Mick Sutton is going to make do with what he has at the moment, with a personal best through the first sector. Let's have a look at this second sector. What is it going to be? We only really find out the second sector very late in the lap, because it basically, as he runs into Murray's, going through Coram now, the run out of Murray's, not quite a personal best there from Mick Sutton, but as he runs up to the line, he does have a little bit of a margin to the rest of the field, and is first to set a lap time on maybe some slightly more up to temperature tyres, and with that he does improve, but only by a few tenths.
Yeah, for me, anything in the 2:07s is a very, very competitive time. The real threat is Andy Dorman. Andy Dorman is looking really quite quick here. The track's a little bit longer, a little bit more technical, more corners. It just allows them drivers to have that slight advantage or that slight edge. It really gives them a chance to extend that potential gap that they would have at tracks that's maybe only a minute long. So, when we were at Silverstone or Brands, we saw the times very, very close. This is nearly double the length with double the amount of corners. Well, frankly, a lot more than double the amount of corners. So you're seeing times that are probably going to be slightly more different, but it is going to mean that it comes a lot more down to the racecraft of these drivers, in order to try and make sure that if they're not quite there on the pace, they can really push forward and get defending through the race. So Yeah, it's going to be down to racecraft, and that's the side that was seeing Simon Reed really strong at. I was commenting during that hot lap, Ed, off mics, that Simon Reed hasn't had a fast lap in any of the races yet that we've had, and yet he's a championship leader at the moment. Both Mick and Andy have been the majority of the fastest laps, and yet they sat there in second and third. So Simon Reed's definitely going to be the one to watch in the actual race itself. Whether or not he's going to be quite up there on the timing sheets in quali, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, what I'm also surprised by is the fact that Andy Dorman's not out on track. He set one lap and then has decided to remain in the pit lane for the past, 3 and a bit minutes, which is strange from Andy Dorman. We usually see him really competing at the sharp end in these qualifying sessions, so hopefully he's going to be back out in time for the end and can maybe try and challenge Mick Sutton for pole position. Mick Sutton does have quite a healthy margin to second place, doesn't he? Because of Simon Reed there in second place. Even though that maybe it could be a little bit of gamesmanship from Dorman, that he wants some extra points for overtaking drivers rather than from qualifying.
Well, I could actually be a perfect tactic to bring in. It could a very interesting tactic, a little bit of a gamble sometimes. Especially when you're trying to fight through traffic. If you have the pace alone, then sometimes it's better to just get your head down and go for it. To try and use that to then fight through the pack and get extra points, you've always got the chance of a driver tagging you or having a collision that can even take you out the race. So a little bit of a gamble here maybe by Andy. Maybe that's his tactics, maybe it isn't. It'll be really interesting to see though.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that you can pass here at Snetterton quite easily. It's a circuit that is really quite well built for overtaking. But another factor that we could analyse here, Dave, is do you reckon the tyres, they might be a factor in the race? Because Snetterton is notorious for really running through the tyres. So many tight and high to medium speed corners in that middle sector. And while we know that the tyres can last in these MX-5s, do you reckon performance might start to drop off with a little bit of overheating?
You know what? Generally, the tyres on this car aren't too bad because the cars are not massively powered, only 160 horsepower. They don't tend to work the tyres that hard over a race stint. They're quite gentle on it. It's probably a car in real life you quite like to race because tyre costs for a corner will be relatively low. But it's one of them tracks where all the real series hard braking points are relatively straight, like the hairpins at the start. The rest of them, you'd be surprised how little you're braking. So going through Hamilton here, this is completely flat, off the brakes, if anything a slight lift. So all the major braking points are all a straight line, so you're not getting excessive load on them corners, which you would normally really wear on the likes of Brands Hatch or Silverstone, where you've got them long sweeping corners that you're on the brakes on.
So I'm surprised by that, because obviously you've got that end of the lap, which is basically constantly leaning on that left-hand side of the car. But it seems that these cars are able to manage it. They're not the heaviest beasts. They don't tend to munch through the tyres as much as maybe a GT car you'd expect to see going through there. So we come to Brad Smith. What can he do here at the end of the lap? He's getting some tow, isn't he, off of car in front? I believe that to be Simon Reed. So is Brad Smith going to improve and get up onto the front row potentially? What is it going to be? It's not a big margin, is it, between second and fourth? It's a good run there out of Murray's and down the long start finish straight. He's going to hug a tight line up to the timing line. What will it be from Brad Smith as he makes his way across the line? It's enough to put him P2 just, and when I say just, I mean just, ahead of Simon Reed.
Yeah, that's really impressive to see. We've seen the speed that Simon Reed's got. First round for Brad Smith here in the MX-5 and already second on the grid. Very, very impressive to see as we saw a double spin there. So Simon Reed losing the back end and almost Brad there responding to what was happening in front, losing the back end himself and spinning the opposite way. Let's hope we don't see any of that during the race.
Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of a spin in sympathy. They will have enough time to go around and complete another flying lap. But Mick Sutton, he's currently up on his previous best by 1.6 tenths, and this is looking very quick, isn't it, from Mick Sutton. Could be class the field in this qualifying session, could get pole by over a second if he can get it hooked up very nicely through Brundle and then into Nelson. Look at that, a very nice line taken.
It's really good.
By Mick Sutton, very good. Couple of wheels off onto the dirt on the outside, but I don't think that slowed him down too much. Makes his way through bomb hole and then into Coram. Crucial to get this right, carry the right amount of speed in, keep the line nice and tight, and then open it up for the brakes into Murray. Such a difficult corner to get right, and he runs a little bit wide of the apex there. That could hold him back. He's 2 tenths up though on his pole position time. I think he will still be seeing Mick Sutton improving and going fastest in this session with one more flying lap still in his pocket, and that is enough, yes, to bring him a little bit faster. Did lose a lot of time though on that final sector.
Yeah, he did. You know what though? This is a brilliant confidence boost for Mick Sutton going into the race here. To know he has that sort of pace advantage, he'll just be thinking, get a nice clean start, maybe go slightly defensive into turn 2 there, into the hairpin, and then get your head down, stop looking in the mirror, and allow your pace just to really help you pull away from the grid. This is probably what Mick Sutton's really thinking. This is a really good opportunity for me to bank some serious points here and look forward to race 2 for the reverse grid.
Yeah, so Mick Sutton will have one final qualifying lap to go, but so will these drivers as well. I think Simon Thorpe's going to get across the line in time for another flying lap to be set. So we'll see what he can manage. Will he be able to get ahead of Andy Dorman, who, like we say, is still in the pits, unfortunately, not seemingly wanting to take any further part in this qualifying session. So we'll follow Simon Thorpe as the last driver to set a time in this qualifying session, as we do very shortly tick over past the 15-minute mark. And another thing I've noticed as well is that this is one of the few immortalizations of the scary tree. We can see it there. Tree that sadly blew down last year. Another casualty of 2020. Fell down in the earlier part of the year in a storm.
Yeah, the scary tree is a bit infamous with Snetterton, isn't it? And a bit of a shame that it's now gone. But the track, you know, it's still got its true sense of what a racetrack should be. It's one of the most popular tracks for any of the teams to go and test the car on, because it's got a little bit of everything. So yeah, you'll see all the tyre tests and things like that. The majority of them all happen at Snetterton.
Yeah, so Mick Sutton, he's really testing limits of his car, and he gets a much better run this time through the final corner, through Murray's down the start-finish straight. He will go for this final time in qualifying, and that is an improvement.
Yeah,
very good time there. 2:07.621 for Mick Sutton, and I don't think any drivers are really going to have any answer to that. What just a dominant performance we've seen from Mick Sutton this evening, and well, it might carry on.
Yeah, it might indeed. I'm really looking forward to this battle that's starting to develop between Brad Smith and Simon Reed, and let's not forget Sam Milner. You know, all drivers within half a second. That's not a lot at all around a track of this sort of length and technicality. You know, it's a very, very difficult track. You know, I'd imagine that we're going to see drivers quicker in certain sections than others, and that can really mean, when it comes down to the actual race, drivers with huge speed differentials in certain sectors.
Yeah, so Simon Thorpe, as he rounds out the final corner, unfortunately I don't think this will be an improvement. 3 seconds down on his previous best, and opts to take the run into the pit lane, as do all the others. So it will be this man starting the first race of the evening from pole position. Top honours in qualifying going the way of Mick Sutton, and that will be, I think, his first pole position of the season.
Yeah, it is actually. You know, it's the first time that he's out-qualified Andy Dorman. I think Andy Dorman's had every other single pole lap this season.
I think it was Simon Reed at the start of the season.
Simon Reed, was it?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, so as you said, still Mick Sutton's first pole. So, you know, he's really starting to build some sort of momentum here, a real bit of confidence boost in this season. So he's definitely not a one to rule out of the championship title, is he?
Yeah, definitely. So qualifying is as close as, well, not really as close as ever for this man, Mick Sutton. And Mick, congratulations there. I'll let Dave carry on with the interview.
Yeah, Mick Sutton, first pole lap of the season. I mean, that must be quite a good confidence boost going towards race 1. Another, the speed differential and the time differential you've got between you and second place.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can hear Mick. I'm not sure if he's got his microphone muted on Discord. Hopefully we can get that. So can you hear us, Mick? Well, if he can, Dave, I don't think we can hear him.
No, unfortunately not. We'll keep in the interview room for a little bit longer, but we'll brush over a little bit of what to expect maybe from race 1. It's going to be a difficult run down to turn 1 here. It's very, very fast. Probably no braking. I would imagine it probably absolutely flat on the throttle all the way around turn 1. But Snetterton's a bit notorious, a bit like Druids around Brands Hatch. That is a real pinch point in that hairpin, and we could see a bit of carnage there, I would imagine, in race 1.
Yeah, thankfully there's a big runoff, isn't there? You end up in a farmer's field. However, I think this layout has actually got the barriers there, so drivers won't be able to have that sort of luxury. And are you here, Mick? Can you hear us?
I'm so sorry. My microphone packed up, but I've got it working now. Sorry.
No worries there, Mick. We're just saying quickly, your first pole up of the season, it must be a huge confidence boost to see the potential of the gap that you've got on P2 as well. A real good time advantage.
Yeah, but I think to be honest with you, I'm fairly confident Andy must have had some kind of a problem there, because he's definitely quicker than I am. That's for sure. Certainly has been in practice.
I'm just going to throw this out there, Mick. We were taught that this could be potential tactics, because obviously you get points for overtakes as well. Is this maybe a tactic where we're seeing Andy Dorman use the pace advantage he's got to help pull himself through the grid?
Well, who knows? I'm not. I don't have that luxury, so I have to just rely on outright pace. I'm afraid I haven't got as much pace as he has, but he's certainly been very quick in all the practice sessions.
You've put yourself in the prime position to give you the best hopes. You've put in a great quali lap, and we're really looking forward to seeing how you get on in race 1.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and I shall do my best to try and convert it. But we'll see what happens. It's 20 minutes of 20 minutes of pain, but I'll get over it. Yeah. Thank you.
On, cheers, Mick.
There you go. So that was Mick Sutton joining us in the comms box, and well, Mick is definitely going to be looking forward, won't he, to hopefully getting his first race victory of the season.
Yeah, will indeed. You can see the lined up here. As I said, turn 1 is going to come down to who's going to have the bottle here to really keep the foot in it round turn 1. You can see Brad, even though he's qualified second, actually got the inside line. Mick Sutton's probably going to be aware of that now, seeing him on the inside of the line. And if he doesn't get a good enough start, then Brad will have the first corner.
Yeah, so a little bit of drama, a little bit of jeopardy going into the first corner. If Brad Smith can get the best getaway at the start of this race, he could find himself not only leading the race, but leading the race on his debut. We have 10 seconds till the lights go green, and we will go racing here for the first time at Snetterton. They wait and they go, and it seems to be close, doesn't it, between Mick Sutton and actually Brad Smith has got the inside, so he could come through the first corner leading his first ever race in the VRRC Academy MX-5 Cup, and he slots in at the front through Ritchie's, but then as they come up towards the Montreal hairpin, the inside line is opened up for Mick Sutton, and he's going to dive down on the inside and take back the lead. So it was the briefest moments for Brad Smith where he was leading, and oh my word, that is very brief, because he's ended up in the wall.
Now, I could be wrong there. I did just think I saw at a glimpse Brad Smith getting a little bit sideways on exit there of turn 2. We saw it in the in qualifying him lose the back end there and have a bit of a spin. I think that was another driver there going off in the background as well. James McGill maybe just catching a little bit of curb there. There he is there, just rejoining, spinning out on the grass. I know it doesn't look it, but the difference in traction between the surface of the tarmac and the grass once you get two back wheels out onto that grass, it is incredibly slippy and bouncy, so you want to make sure, you know, that you make sure the car's nice and hooked up on that tarmac and get a maximum drive possible. Simon Reed, though, look, already dropped down to third. Andy Dorman from fifth on the grid, absolutely his favour, already up into second, and I imagine he'll be soon putting pressure onto the back of Mick Sutton.
Yeah, although I think we might be seeing potentially a safety car here, as we've got drivers going slow in the background following that incident at the start of the race. We'll see how it happens. I think the safety car might wait a little while before coming out on the circuit to allow the MX-5s to close in behind. What a manic start, though, wasn't it, that we saw Mick Sutton actually getting away into the lead of the race after a good fight. But like we said, Andy Dorman really carving his way through the field in the opening few moments. And yep, the safety car is out. So we'll expect the field to bunch right back up again. You can see Brad Smith in the background there. In his sixth place, he'll join the snaking train of MX-5s. And it's a long time that they spend behind the safety car because of just the length of the lap. Means that the temperatures might start to drop away on the tyres. And we did see last time out at Donington Park, drivers were caught out a little bit by that.
Yeah, they were actually, and you know what? It could be a real thing where you got to remember that the first corner they're going to hit with potential cold tyres is that turn one where you don't even brake for it. So I'd imagine there might be a few people that decide just to give it a little confidence brake, but that is going to leave them open to whoever's behind to have the potential of an overrun at that speed.
Yeah, we might see some drivers, we might see the field decide what they want to do into that first corner. Maybe Mick Sutton will back up the pack and then just absolutely pound on the throttle, pound on the loud pedal coming out of Murray's. But you know that Andy Dorman and Simon Reed, they'll be wily to any sort of tricks that Sutton could try and implement here. Just waiting, I think, for James McGill to join the back of the train. He's there, or thereabouts, just can't see him at the moment as we come through Agostini. There he is. When he gets arriving at the scene, we might see the lights on the safety car come out and we'll get back to racing speed. But what an unfortunate moment that was at the start of the race. From Brad Smith, hero just down to zero, wasn't it? That little mistake potentially coming out of the hairpin as James McGill is really trying to press the limits of his car. Going to do Oggies this time. I'm not sure, was there a bit of contact potentially though between himself and Simon Reed? They were rather close on circuit.
Yeah, so you know what, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say what I think maybe happened, even though it wasn't on screen. I'm going to say I think probably Brad got a little bit sideways coming out the hairpin, got it a little bit sideways, obviously then he's scrubbing a bit of speed when Simon Reed's accelerating up the inside, and I think there probably was a little bit of nose-to-tail contact between Simon and Brad. Obviously not meaning to happen, but just that speed differential, it probably accelerated Brad Smith's spin, if you like, onto the grass. That is a complete guess. I might be completely wrong in that, but that it looked to me sort of like what we might have expected to see. And I think actually the safety car lights are out, and I think Mick Sutton has gone already. Look at the jump he's got on Andy Dorman here, nearly actually catching the safety car through the last corner. So really pushing this little MX-5, but going down towards turn one, is this where we're going to see that cold tyre, maybe a slight bit of a slide? Will he brake for turn one?
I think he will, because he was flat out, wasn't he, coming out of Murray's. So into the first corner at Ritchie's he goes, still leading, of course. No mistakes coming through for any of these top three drivers, and I think the rest of the field, they were a little bit careful, weren't they, on the cold tyres. I think they realised as well that they wouldn't be up to full racing temperatures, optimum heat in them to get up and running nice and quickly. But look at that, a little bit of a moment there from Sam Milner. Simon Thorpe's going to capitalise on this and down the inside into Palmer's. Nice and decisive move from Simon Thorpe there to take fourth place. Meanwhile, up in front, Simon Reed on Andy Dorman. Reed goes to the outside, then feints to the inside. Has he done him into Agostini? He has, great little overtake there.
Wow, Simon Reed pushing it very hard on exit as well, you see there. Getting a little bit sideways. We're seeing Simon Thorpe here with a huge move here on Sam Milner. And look who's in amongst it as well. Brad Smith right amongst all the action. building his way back up. I tell you what, this is exactly the sort of driving we need to see from Brad. The recovery drive from that spin, already starting to work his way back up through this grid.
Yeah, good showing on his debut to keep it going and to keep the bravery up to, carry on, even though his car's definitely not in the best of shapes. He's still able to get some slipstream off of Simon Thorpe, and well, down the inside into Brundle and Nelson. He's going to go a real action zone. I think we're going to see plenty of moves being made here this evening. Look at that door hanging on the way in, and I think Brad Smith is going to take that position. Yes, he does. Very committed move there. Wasn't hanging about, was Brad? And with that decisive lunge to the inside, he's able to take a position. So lunging it to the inside. Simon Reed is holding the inside, trying to keep Andy Dorman at bay. But as they come into Murray's, the inside line could open up for Dorman. He gets the apex nicely, but I don't think he gets the run out of the corner. All of this squabbling, though, is going to really play into the hands of Mick Sutton, who's really starting to build a gap at the front of the field.
Yeah, you know what? That last corner was exactly what I was explaining through the hot lap. If you don't get that car slowed down soon enough, you're not making the apex. And look at the difference that made all the way down that straight. Andy Dorman managing to get right on the back of Simon Reed all the way down to turn one. I'm actually quite surprised that didn't lead to an overtake there. Wasn't quite close enough, but you can see Andy Dorman's really got the grips with getting the car stopped and getting all that exit. Simon Reed's maybe losing a little bit of his lap time in doing that, but saying that, his first sector here by Simon Reed is looking really strong and actually managing to gap Andy Dorman, who was fastest in practice.
So Andy Dorman, he's looking to close back up to Simon Reed. I don't know though if the race win is going to be going Andy Dorman's way, because Mick Sutton up in front got that 3.5 second gap almost to the rest of the field, and all of a sudden this fight that was looking very close has started to drop away a little bit, but we'll be able to follow that as it heats up a little bit later. Meanwhile, 3 cars all together on circuit: Brad Smith, Simon Thorpe and Sam Milner. And well, Brad Smith is currently leading this 3-way fight for 4th place, and we've touched on it plenty of times, but it's so difficult as a driver coming into a new championship midway through as well, and having to try and assert yourself. It's certainly no mean feat.
Definitely that. You know what? It's something that's quite commonly overlooked in a championship. It's one thing to be a good driver, but also having that sort of knowledge of the drivers that you're around. You know, who does what sort of characteristics with where they position the car or how aggressive they are. That all plays into the fact of, how well you can judge it and how you can use your racecraft to get you through the grid. So actually, Brad is looking like he's got great pace in the car, but he's at a huge disadvantage. The fact he hasn't raced with any of these drivers before. So the fact he's managed to build himself back up to 4th place already, impressive to see. It's one of them things, Ed. It's probably a thing that, you're aware of yourself, that you've got to know the people that you're racing around.
Yeah, and I think that just the fastest lap being set by Brad Smith. Maybe not quite. I think that was his personal best though of the race so far. So he's really starting to close in up on Andy Dorman and Simon Reed. I think that was actually 9/10 faster, nearly a second taken out of front 2 in that little bit of a fight, as Sutton has set the fastest lap with a 2-minute 8.0. Battling though in the background, really hotting up, isn't it, between Thorpe and Milner. Got close to contact coming through the hairpin, but they seem to sort it out amongst themselves. And well, I think Brad Smith is going to be happy as well, just to have a little bit of track space to himself, even if he's not in a fight. Oh my word! Oh. Massive moment. What happened there from Simon Thorpe? What was causing the car to do that there, Dave? Sorry.
Honestly, that is a real surprise, that one, to lose the back end like it did on the brakes. Maybe that was just a little bit too heavy of a stamp on the throttle mid-corner as well as brake. That really got the car rotated. I wasn't expecting that, actually. It looked really controlled on entry and looked absolutely spot on. But Mick Sutton is really the guy on the move, setting the personal best, not personal best, session best in Sector 1. So Mick Sutton is absolutely flying here and really trying to check out. Already setting fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 8.0. Be interested to see whether this is any quicker. Andy Dorman actually surprisingly not quite making as much headway towards Simon Reed as what I would have thought.
No, there might be something that happened. Maybe Andy Dorman picked up a little bit of a knock earlier on in the race when coming up through the field. We did see a few drivers picking up a little bit of a scuff and a bump at the early stage, but they are trying to respond, I think, to the charge of Brad Smith in the background. They're setting very quick lap times now, second and third, Reed and Dorman. And unfortunately, Brad Smith doesn't seem to have the answer at the moment, but he's keeping his laps consistent. And that's the main thing. He's going to be there to pick up any pieces should these front two get in a tangle.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the lap times there. Andy Dorman is starting to make his charge, setting the fastest lap by 0.002 of a second faster than Mick Sutton. Both fastest laps done on that previous lap, so the tyres are really starting to come on now. A little bit of fuel out the car. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Andy Dorman just struggling 0.2 slower in sector 1 than Mick Sutton, but you can see, you know, his second and third sector is absolutely flying in comparison. So Andy Dorman with potentially quite a lot faster of a lap time there. Mick Sutton, though, already with a substantial gap here. I think Andy Dorman's going to be doing really well to get past Simon Reed and manage to catch Mick Sutton and pass him.
A thing, though, to consider is the fact that Andy Dorman was only 0.002 faster over a 2-minute lap, and throughout the entire lap he's been getting the slipstream. He's been having a tow from Simon Reed, whereas Mick Sutton out in front punching a hole in the air, not able to get any sort of benefit from a driver in front of him, allowing him to go a bit quicker down the straight and a little bit quicker coming out of the corners. So that definitely means that Mick Sutton is showing great pace, and he's still, I think, the fastest driver around one lap at this circuit. Andy Dorman's going to try and see what he can do, though, coming into the a slight slide, I think that was from Andy Dorman, but he's closing back in onto Simon Reed, and Simon's going to start to feel the pressure as we come into the final 7 minutes of this 20-minute race. It's really heating up now.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, you've touched on something there. Mick Sutton actually is really flying here. Nearly 5 seconds gap to second place Simon Reed. You know, Mick Sutton going fastest again in sector 2. Will this be a better lap time? No, 10th slower than his previous lap. So he's actually doing what he needs to do to maintain this gap, but he's actually not maintaining it, he's extending it. So a real confidence boost here for Mick Sutton, and especially going into race 2, having this pace and consistency now. You know, we've seen Mick maybe struggle with a little bit of consistency there in the past. 2 laps on a 2-minute lap, lapping within a 1/10 of a second. Mick Sutton's really starting up his game, and it's exactly what we want to see from the academy. It's all about driver improvement, and we're really starting to see that now from Mick Sutton, impressing me a lot.
Yeah, definitely. What I'm surprised is that Simon Reed is seemingly lagging behind a little bit. He isn't quite able to show the pace. Oftentimes in the races, it seems to be where he comes on song, but still takes a little while to get going, does Simon Reed this evening. And look at this, down the inside into Hamilton. Andy Dorman sees a chance, he's going to seize it with both hands, but into Woggies, he's not going to have a chance again. Great hold around the outside. Brave, committed driving from the pair of them, trusting that they give each other just enough racing room, not have contact, and that's given Andy Dorman a little bit of a setback, because coming through Williams onto the Bentley straight, he's a little bit further back, but he did get a seemingly better exit. Might have a little look down the inside if he's able to close in enough with the slipstream. No chance, though, for Andy Dorman, so they will keep it second and third this way for the moment. Final 5 minutes to go, though. The final quarter of the race remains. Who's going to come out on top as we see Simon Reed defending the inside into bomb hole, and he's going to just keep Andy Dorman for bay as long as he can.
Yeah, and huge move possibly by Andy Dorman there, just showing a nose up the inside of Simon Reed, but Simon Reed's got it covered. He's brought nice and early look, and actually that's a great defensive drive there into the last corner, putting his car exactly where he needs to, and look, coming out that corner exactly the same speed. That's impressive to see that sort of defensive driving. But the other thing to take away from Mick Sutton for me as well is, you know, once you start to build up these gaps, you know, he's got a 5-second gap now. 6.5 second gap over Simon Reed here in second. this is where you can actually go, right, I've got a really big gap now, I don't really need to push it. And you actually start to switch off and you lose concentration and you start to miss apexes, you maybe run a little bit wide. You actually have a few sketchy moments. So this is where Mick needs to keep his head. I know he's built up that gap, but he needs to make sure he keeps it on track and not make any silly mistakes just because, you know, he maybe lacks a little bit of concentration. So them consistent lap times is really good to see Mick Sutton doing. You know, it means he's still switched on and he's still pushing for them lap times.
Yeah, but Simon Reed, we look on the backboard shot from him, and he's trying to make his MX-5 as wide as he can. Another twitch on the exit of Agostini, and that's going to really open the move down into Hamilton. So Andy Dorman's going to send it there again. They go side by side, two abreast into Oggies. Has Dorman got the move to stick? Yes, he has, but Simon Reed is going to keep his car as close as he can. If he can get the run out of Williams, he's going to take that position back, and Andy Dorman with a slight little lag back, going to worry Simon Reed a little bit. Coming through Williams they go, and Dorman gets the exit nicely, and that was a great move, capitalising on a slight mistake from Simon Reed. Too eager on the throttle coming out of Agostini, the tight left-hand hairpin. And, well, now, Andy Dorman, what can he do in clear air?
Yeah, that was a really, really good drive by Andy Dorman. You saw, even in the slipstream, he was still holding a gap of about 4 car lengths. So, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. You know, carry the momentum through that right-hander onto the Bentley straight and really open the car up as soon as you can. And look at this by Andy Dorman, already opening up a huge gap. So it shows how good of a defensive drive Simon Reed was doing to hold that gap with a look at the speed differential. So impressive drive by Simon. See, maybe outbraking himself a little bit there, getting it a little bit wide. But this would be where Andy Dorman will be really pushing for that fast. Actually, I say he's pushing for the fastest lap. He's already got it by 2,000 of a second. But if you want to make sure he puts his stamp on it and have a dominant fastest lap, I would have thought, known Andy Dorman, to really show Mick Sutton that he's got the pace going forward into race 2.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the times that will be set between Mick Sutton and Andy Dorman. Let's also focus on this man, Brad Smith, who's been kind of on his lonesome all race long, had a good little tussle at the front, but it's just not seemingly been his first race. Still, 4th place is nothing to be too upset about, especially considering you're racing against some of the more dominant performers of this championship so far, Mick Sutton, Andy Dorman and Simon Reed. The amount of times that they have locked out the podium this season are probably too much to count, aren't they? I think the only time we've seen a driver other than those three getting onto the podium was probably, I think, Luke Weston near the start of the season, and then also Kobe Liekens just recently.
Yeah, really good point, actually. Yeah, really good point. For me, Brad Smith actually doing a really impressive job to really mix it with them in qualifying, and I think he could be a real threat in race 2. You've got to remember, if it finishes like this, he's going to be starting ahead of them front runners, and you know what? I don't think he's going to make their job easy to try and get past. So far, he's lapping very consistent, a good lap time, and you know what? You can see he had that little mishap there with a little bit of a spin at the start, but other than that, he's not really putting a wheel wrong, so he could be actually a very, very difficult car to try and get past.
Yeah, so as well, we'll often see Brad Smith probably get faster as he gets more used to the car, more used to putting in the practice times. And, well, when you're up against the man at the front of the field, Mick Sutton, the Mick Sutton that did, I believe, 304 laps in preparation for this race. And considering it's a 2-minute lap time, it certainly means that Mick Sutton has spent many an hour at this Snetterton 300 circuit, and that's really paid dividends as Andy Dorman sets the fastest lap of the race, just a tenth and a bit faster than Mick Sutton's previous best. But Mick Sutton, he could afford to maybe not push as hard as he's been doing all race long, and can just back off of the throttle a little bit, slotting in behind and just managing the pace. Doesn't need to make any of those sort of mistakes that you can often make when really pushing the car to its limits.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, I look at the last lap times, Andy Dorman really pushing, doing the fastest lap, but only a tenth faster than Mick Sutton's fastest. So, you know, not a huge pace differential there when they're both on the lap. But yeah, Mick Sutton last lap, 2 seconds slower than what Andy Dorman is. So I really do think Mick's gone, right, you know what? hopefully, Touchwood won this race now. You know, hopefully I don't give him commentator's curse there. But yeah, you know what? He's gone, I'm going to back this right off, bring the car home and make sure I get the win and bring in that points haul. And you know what? This is exactly the sort of drive that Mick Sutton need to do here today to keep this championship title fight alive. You know, you got to remember Simon Reed, current championship leader, both Mick Sutton and Andy Dorman going to currently outscore Simon Reed here today.
Yeah, that's going to be very important for the championship, but it's also important mentally for Mick Sutton. This has been the first time he's been able to take a race victory this season, and it's only a couple more corners till he can finally taste sweet, sweet victory in the Academy MX-5 Cup League. Just rounding out through the long right-hander, right-hander, then into the left at Murray's, down, start, finish straight. We will see Mick Sutton take the checkered flag, and most importantly, take a significant first victory of the season for Mick Sutton. Converted his pole position into the race victory, but he will start the second race from a little bit further back and have a lot of work to do to have any repeat performance of that top spot finish. Andy Dorman crosses the line there in the second place, coming back from a qualifying that he maybe set out from for a little bit and then opted to come back out on right at the end and then have a charge through the field up in second place ahead of Simon Reed there in third. And Brad Smith on his debut getting a fourth place. Good haul of championship points going his way, with Sam Milner and Simon Thorpe finishing fifth and sixth. And then James McGill will round out the field, and he will be starting on pole position for the second and final race of the evening here at Snetterton.
Yeah, definitely that. So now we're just going to go down and try and catch a word with the podium finishers. I believe Simon Reed should be in here as of now. Simon Reed, are you here?
Hello, yes, I'm here, Dave.
Yes, so spot on. So, yeah, I mean, you fought on that really hard there with Andy Dorman, but just not quite enough on the pace maybe to hold him off enough.
No, yeah, I mean, Andy's a very fast driver, and while I had him behind me, my only goal was to just keep it back there as long as I could, and made a little mistake with only a couple laps to go, which was enough to let him through. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hold on to that second place.
I've got to quickly ask as well. You know, you've got a newcomer at the championship, Brad Smith, who put in an impressive qualifying effort. He's going to be starting just ahead of you on the grid. I take it that's sort of a little bit of worry regarding the overall championship standings, having a newcomer come in and being almost right on the pace that he needs to be.
Yeah, well, obviously I've never driven with him, so I don't know what he's really capable of in racing. But yeah, he did do a good qualifying, very close to what I was doing. So yeah, I should have a bit of back with him.
Oh, now I've got to quickly ask as well. I hypothetically thought of what maybe possibly happened in turn 2 at the start of that race. It was just on the edge of being caught out of stream. I believe. Did Brad get a little bit of sideways and, got it, drifting out the corner, lost the back end a little bit, and then you maybe gave him a slight little tap just a helping hand because you had nowhere to go? Was that around what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. He lost the back end and cut across the circuit, right across my nose, and there was nothing I could do. I went into his rear quarter and that finished him off.
Oh well, I'm pleased to hear that I didn't, get it drastically wrong. Great podium there, Simon, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in race 2.
Cheers, Dave.
We'll move on to our P2 finisher. Are you there, Andy Dorman? So maybe we've got a few mic issues from Andy Dorman here. I'll try him once more time. Are you there, Andy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, spot on, Andy. Yeah, a slightly interesting tactic there in qualifying. We obviously saw that you had the pace, but was that maybe a little bit of tactics there, using it to, use the overtakes to gain a few more points and use your pace to pull you through the grid?
Well, that was the plan. We've got a bit far behind in the championship now, so all the points count.
That is very true. You know, you and Mick Sutton both closing the gap a little bit there to Simon Reed, who's the championship leader. You know what? I take it, you know, the strategy worked, but just a little bit too much of a gap there to try and close onto Mick Sutton.
A little bit. It took a couple of laps to get the tyres back on after the safety car, so it held us up a bit.
Oh, that's interesting to know that. Maybe, the tyres, you know, weren't quite there on the safety car. So hopefully we won't have another one of them in race 2. You know, great podium, great performance, pulling it back through the grid, and looking forward to seeing how you get on in race 2.
Yep. What?
And finally, to our race winner, that almost went exactly like you planned there, Mick.
Well, almost, yeah. I'll be honest. It's. I've never been in that situation before where I've led lights to flag. Well, apart from just the first corner there, where Brad just got me off the start, bless him. But that was as much pressure as trying to get past people. I'll be honest with you. That's the first time I've ever done that. So I'm really pleased, obviously, to get the win. But I slowed off because I could see I got like a 6-second gap or something. And then I saw Andy had got past Simon. And to be honest, I slowed off too much. The tyres went, just as Andy just said. And I really struggled. I was thinking, oh my God, no, I could easily make a mistake here. But luckily, we kept it on the island. We did all right.
Well, last little question. I was literally said, Ed, there during the race, you know, it's one thing to get the lead, but when you've got such a dominant lead by 6.5 seconds, it's very easy for you to start to switch off and lose a bit of concentration because you're sort of not pushing the car as hard as you were in all the time you've been practicing it. So I take that's what you found a little bit, just quickly before we jump back the grid.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found, and I won't be doing it if I get that opportunity this time. I shall push right to the end this time because the tyres go off very quickly in this car if you're not pushing it. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what the Academy's for, all about learning. Congratulations, Mick, on the win, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in race 2.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Good luck, everybody else.
So
there you go.
Oh, sorry, Dave. So with that, we conclude the post-race interviews. And we can now get ready for the second race of the evening here at Snetterton. A reverse grid that will see James McGill start from the front with Simon Thorpe alongside him completing the front row. And Simon Thorpe will have that all-important inside line into the first corner. You can see there who's that behind him. I think that is Milner. Just behind Simon Milner with Brad Smith, Simon Reed, Andy Dorman, Mick Sutton there, rounding out the field. Starting in 7th place, plenty of positions to make up, plenty of points to gain for Mick as this next race is about to get underway very shortly here, Dave. And well, it's about to get started much quicker than thought. Here we can see who's going to get the best run down the inside, Simon Thorpe or James McGill around the outside. And I think that was actually Simon Thorpe getting the jump. Potentially on the inside, but out of nowhere, coming through, that's Brad Smith. Could be a challenge for the race lead yet again into the first corner. Is he going to look to the inside? No, he doesn't. Instead, he's going to focus on getting the best drive possible through Ritchie's into the hairpin. He's going to have the inside line there. He's going to be able to see it. Is he late enough on the brakes to stick it up there? Yes, he is, but now it's all about getting the throttle down nice and carefully, which he does. He's learned from last time out. That's all the Academy does, as we see Andy Dorman off of the circuit, off the road and into Palmer's. There's contact there on the inside. Andy Dorman, I think, is going to be counting his lucky stars that he did not go the way of Simon Thorpe into the tyre barrier on the exit of Palmer.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate to see. I don't know whether that means that's going to be a safety car coming out there. But yeah, what a start by Brad Smith there. Did exactly what he needed to do to get through the grid. But look who's in third already. Andy Dorman. We're seeing the speed he's got. Mick Sutton tucked up in behind him. Simon Reed up the inside of Sam Milner here. Sam Milner holding his line down towards the right-hander. Simon Reed's going to have the outside line here. That's not really going to work round there. Andy Dorman with huge pressure on the back of James McGill. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a move that happens under the bridge here.
Yeah, well, we can see, can't we, all the cars together. James McGill, Andy Dorman and Mick Sutton. They'll be going wheel to wheel under the bridge for the first time in this second race. Side by side, Andy Dorman with the inside line for Brundle, which will then become the outside for Nelson. Is he able to hold his car there? No, he isn't. He's forced around the outside. Great valiant defense there by James McGill, but he just didn't get the run. And then down the inside into the bomb hole, we can see a Mick Sutton lunge down the inside, able to take third place. And our race one winner is definitely making some quick pace up the field already into third, but so does Simon Reed. And is he going to have a look into Murray's? No, chooses better of it and pops it behind. Oh, there's that contact there on the apex of Murray's. I think we saw Sam Milner get a little bit friendly with the side of James McGill.
Yeah, a little bit friendly there. Difficult braking zone. Things like that can happen where cars trip over, and both of them unfortunately losing a little bit of time to this lead pack. But I tell you what, Mick Sutton actually at the start of that race, I was keeping an eye on him. Sometimes in the previous races, that little bit of restraint and a little bit of know when to back out of moves and let things develop so you can get the run on it. And sometimes Mick hasn't been the best in them decisions, and it's ended up with him, you know, losing a bit of time here and there. But actually, watching him race at the start of this race was exactly what we want to see as an academy driver. A little bit more restraint, learnt from the previous races, and it's meant he's right in contention there, hardly losing any time to Andy Dorman in front.
Yeah, plus he's been able to keep his car nice and clean, no damage on his car whatsoever. But we will see now at the front what will happen as the front runners maybe catch up to Brad Smith. That could be an aspect of the race, is how they navigate him, because they are showing some very good pace. You'd expect them to catch him by at least the end of the race, even if he does have about 1.5 second margin. But that's James McGill making a mistake. Was that coming into Oggies?
That was a very, very strange incident there. It just seemed like James McGill's car didn't turn into the corner. It went straight on into the grass, and then suddenly once it was in the grass, then managed to get a bit of rotation. So maybe James McGill here with a few little tech issues, maybe, I would suspect from that. That was very, very uncharacteristic for a driver to be driving like that into that right-hander. So I would imagine maybe a slight tech issue there. Mick Sutton, though, with the fastest first sector of anyone. So Mick Sutton with a real push onto the back of Andy Dorman here. Andy Dorman's not going to have this as easy as I think he maybe thought.
Yeah, and Mick Sutton, like you said, he learnt from the previous race. There's no point taking your foot on the grass as he gets a great run, doesn't he? You see him hook up the apex brilliantly for Murray's down this straight. He's going to be gaining so much time, both in the slipstream, but also just from his great run out of the corner. Fastest lap of the race so far, going the way of Mick Sutton there, the number 19 in third place. But for how much longer will he be in third? You never know, he could really try and close in and make a charge for it. And if you have been enjoying some drivers' performances this evening, be it debutant Brad Smith, who's currently leading the race, or maybe Andy Dorman's charge through the field in both the first and second race, or even Mick Sutton getting his first race victory, please comment down below in the comments and let us know who you think should be getting the coveted Driver of the Day award.
Yeah, definitely. You know, for me, there's quite a few drivers that could quite easily be in the pot here for Driver of the Day. But I've got to admit, for progress and drivers that seem to be learning, Mick Sutton has really impressed me today with the way he's driving. Andy Dorman has brought to the table what he's brought week in, week out. Real good, consistent pace. Maybe just lacking a little bit of aggression through the grid, but that definitely hasn't been the case at this meeting. Brad Smith, a complete unknown of a driver, that's turned up. A bit of an unfortunate race one, but I tell you what, on pace, he's definitely holding his own here with the front runners of this championship, remember, still holding off Andy Dorman there, and Simon Reed just sitting back watching all this happen, thinking, you know what, I'm just going to take advantage of anything that might happen here.
Yeah, so now we're going to see Brad Smith's skills in defensive driving being put to the test, as he's going to have Andy Dorman filling his rear view mirrors, and I think he's already going to have Andy Dorman filling his rear view mirrors as they make their way through the bomb hole and then into the long right-hander at Coram. And in any car, it's very difficult to try and get it right. You can see that's exactly the line that you tend to have is Brad Smith's one, where you find yourself finding too wide, but then he cuts in nicely, doesn't he, for the second part, and he actually gets the better run as Mick Sutton very close behind. A different line being taken by Brad Smith through there, but maybe it's to his benefit.
You know what, looking at the timing sheet, Mick Sutton just took half a second out of Andy Dorman in that last corner alone. Mick Sutton's got that last sector absolutely dialed in and currently 4/10ths faster on the fastest lap than Andy Dorman. So Mick Sutton here really shown what he's got. But I tell you what, Brad Smith as well nearly matched Mick Sutton through that last corner, really managing to gap it. It looked like Brad was heading wider. Mick Sutton there getting a really good run, just giving Andy Dorman a little bit of a bump just to go, you know what, Andy, I'm coming for you, I'm here, let's go for it.
I think Dorman missed the gear actually there coming out of the corner, so something happened there with him shifting out of the corner, going out of the Wilson hairpin. So now as he makes his way into the Agostini hairpin, how's his drive out of this corner? I think it might be hopefully a little bit better, but if these two start to battle, if all of these three maybe come together in a little bit of a tussle behind Brad Smith, well, Brad could find himself with a much healthier gap at the front of the field, and he's been able to keep the lead of the race for the past 8 minutes. He's just got 12 more to go, and he could find himself taking race victory. But Mick Sutton, he seems to struggle in that final part of the middle sector. It's always just through that little section of Hamilton and then Oggies and Williams, and then onto the Bentley straight. He's able to close in with the slipstream, but this is allowing Andy Dorman a little bit of time to himself where he can focus fully on the task at hand, and that is catching up to the man. You can see in the nice blue and white MX-5, Brad Smith. What can he do as he gets a good run there coming out of Nelson into the bomb hole? And again, we're going to see a slightly different line, I think, being taken by Brad coming through Coram into Murray's. Look at that, he runs a little bit wider but then cuts in for a later apex. That means he's able to get the wheel straightened up sooner, helps him on the braking, and while he doesn't necessarily get the apex hooked up brilliantly, he still gets the good enough drive to keep Andy Dorman at bay.
You know what, it'll be interesting whether that's something Brad's just picked up or whether he's took that away from my my hot lap video that I released. You know, that's the line I take through that corner, letting the car fade a little bit towards middle of the corner. That allows you to straighten up on the exit, exactly what Brad Smith's doing. So really good to see. I'm not taking credit for it. He might have picked that up himself.
Whoa.
He might have possibly picked that up himself, which if he has, fair play to him. Andy Dorman trying to go left of Brad Smith there. Brad really holding on to this and defending very well, but look who it's playing the hands off. Mick Sutton here right onto the back now. He's going to be thinking, I've got a real opportunity here
We've seen
to
a
possibly
switch back
get
by
2
Andy
places.
Dorman. Switchback by Andy Dorman coming out of Powers and now into Agostini. What are we seeing onto the brakes?
Oh!
We're seeing Brad Smith absolutely sending it around the outside. Brilliant driving there from the debutant, and that has checked up Andy Dorman right royally. And now as they make their way into Hamilton, for a moment I thought we were going to see contact where we do see Andy Dorman running wide. Are these back two going to start tripping over each other perhaps? Because Brad Smith, he's certainly showing that he's not going to lie down, roll over and take it. He is really going for the fight. And in the background, Simon Reed's a figure that could start to put himself in the picture for a podium place. It's all a matter of who's going to come out on top of this fight. And if you could try and predict a podium for this race, well, you'll almost certainly get proved wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a case if this battle is going to go at the line. I think it's either going to go at the line or we're going to end up with 4 cars in a gravel trap somewhere. Yeah, really exciting finale here in race 2. But I tell you what as well, Simon Thorpe's recovered himself a little bit after his earlier spin and excursion. I believe it was through a bit of car contact, and he's managed to get himself up into 6th place ahead of James McGill as well. So a little bit of a backstory there behind the drivers a little bit further back. Simon Reed, look, right on the back of Mick Sutton there, almost pushing him out the corner. In fact, there was contact between Mick Sutton and Simon Reed there, just popped up on my service screen there of 4 mile an hour. Look at the advantage Brad Smith's got out that last corner, that drive he gets just because of his line choice through them last 2 corners.
Yeah, and that keeps him safe coming into Ritchie's. Loses a little bit of time in the middle sector, but he does really like to keep the car nice and steady. Fastest lap still currently held by Mick Sutton for that 2-minute 8.0 lap time that he set earlier on in his pursuit of Andy Dorman. And, well, we're seeing Brad Smith. He's trying to get the good line coming out of Palmer's again. Loses out on a little bit, not using all of the circuit available to him. Could be vulnerable for a move down the inside into Agostini, but I think Andy Dorman thinks better of it. Realises that if he was to go for it, he might be left vulnerable from a hard charging Mick Sutton and Simon Reed. Then into Hamilton. You have to really commit here. Make sure you don't run too wide, though, because Oggies comes up right after. And is that a mistake there from Brad Smith? He ran a little bit wide, wasn't able to take the optimum line off onto the left-hand side of the circuit, opening up the corner at Oggies. I think he's able to hold on for the time being, and then down through Williams, another crucial area of the circuit that Andy Dorman absolutely nails to perfection. So the run into Ronald Nelson under the hill, underneath the bridge, could be all important. Andy Dorman slotting in behind. He does get a good run usually through this area of the circuit, so we'll see exactly how that happens. Look at that, really staying over on the left hand side of the circuit. And now is he going to have the overlap? No. Checks up, gives a bit of a bump to Brad Smith. If he was able to maybe lift out of the throttle a little bit and go for it. Oh, he runs wide through the bomb hole. Massive bump over the outside grass, and that's given him, well, a massive headache there as Mick Sutton and Simon Reed take that chance and go down on the inside. And now maybe that's going to worry Brad Smith a little bit, because he was always fast where Andy Dorman was slower. But now Mick Sutton and Brad Smith, they're quick at the same points. I think Mick Sutton is just marginally that little bit faster. We could see back-to-back race victories going the way of the black and yellow MX-5 driver.
Yeah, you know what? This has got me on the edge of my seat. This is fantastic racing so far. Mick Sutton going right, going left, trying to give him the jink. Brad Smith there going very defensive up the inside. Actually, Mick Sutton not quite getting the switchback that he maybe needed there, but now it's working. Look at the drive he gets out of it. Will he brave it around the outside of the left-hander? This is a brave move, Mick. Mick, you know, it's very easy to just get him ran wide a little bit. He's up along the side of Brad Smith here. He's not going to allow to get the cut back. Watch Simon Reed up the inside. Is Simon Reed going to go for this and take advantage of both of them? Simon Reed, is he going to show his nose? He is up the inside of Mick Sutton. Exactly a great move down towards Hamilton now. Mick Sutton with the overlap of speed. Yeah, wow, what racing this is. Fantastic racing here from the academy.
I'll tell you what, Brad Smith must be grinning ear to ear that he's a part of this fight. But what a dive down the inside, Mick Sutton. That came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden Simon Reed sees a chance to slot it through, and he does. Toe abreast as they come into Williams, and I think Simon Reed is going to take second place from the clutches of Brad Smith, but Brad will get the better drive coming out of the corner, and he's going to look for the move around the outside into Brundle, get the inside at Nelson. I think this was how he took the lead of the race earlier on. Is he going to be able to stick it through? No, backs out of it, then goes for a cutback. Wow, and he's off the grass. No! Oh, after a great start to the race, a great drive, unfortunately it's just all come a little bit unstuck from Brad Smith there. But I mean, the pressure was always going to be massive when you've got the likes of Mick Sutton, Simon Reed and Andy Dorman breathing down your neck. It's just a lesson, I think, that Brad Smith is going to take on board after this round and then come back stronger next time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a hole in the wall to the side of Brad, I think, after that one. You know, real strong contention there for a podium. And he's just got a little bit wrong getting it on the grass in the braking area. And once you're on the grass, you're a passenger. Like I said earlier, a lot of traction difference between the tarmac and the grass. But I've got to say, Mick Sutton, what a move that was up the inside after Hamilton. What a move. For me, that put him right at the top of the pile for driver of the day.
I mean, I think you've got to give it to him, haven't you? He's won the first race, and he could be winning the second race, you know, if he's able to keep Simon Reed and Andy Dorman at bay for the next 4 minutes. Top three, though, all covered by less than a second. I'm not sure which way you'd really want to call it, because either one of these three drivers could come out on top as they come through Agostini. Andy Dorman, he does seem to be very quick at this area of the circuit, and I think coming out of Williams into Brendan Nelson is his best chance at the position. So as they come through Oggies, down onto the brakes, Andy Dorman is going to get that apex hooked up nicely, get the run out of the corner, open it up nicely for Williams, down onto the Bentley straight He can take a little bit of the curve there in real life, but I don't think these MX-5s on a set of course are like that a little bit too much. As Andy Dorman, look at the run he's going to get now out of the corner. 2 abreast, they will go down underneath the bridge into the Brundle and Nelson chicane complex. Who's going to be braver, though? Who's going to be the most committed? It's going to be Andy Dorman, but there's contact there. Andy Dorman spins out and has a collision there. And are we going to see? No, it's not. I thought we were going to see Brad Smith come through to take back second place. But
Look at Sam Milner.
Looking too far in front. Sam Milner's arriving at the scene.
Oh, you know what? I've got a smile on my face, but I bet that was just because Brad saw what was happening up in front and thought, I can't believe my luck. Both the drivers take themselves out, and in doing so, binned it himself. And Sam Milner's probably in 5th place going, blinking heck, I could have a podium here.
I'm very rarely lost for words, as you know, Dave. Much to probably your displeasure. I'm talking a lot, but genuinely, I do not know what I've just witnessed. We saw a massive moment, but it's kept this fight going, and that's the best thing, is that this fight is still going for second place. They had the contact, they had the moment, but it all worked out in the end that they're still, less than 0.2 of a second back from each other.
And Mick Sutton has absolutely checked out. He'll be thinking, I can't believe my luck. 9 seconds the advantage. He can afford to do exactly what he did in the previous race. But remember, he did say he found it hard. The tyres switched off because he slowed down that much. So Mick, he'll need to learn from race 1. Just push the car enough to keep the temps on. But I tell you what, Sam Milner actually is keeping this true. Even though he dropped off the back there, he's actually keeping Brad Smith, who's been at the front, very true here and after to keep pushing. Andy Dorman looking for any opportunity here to try and get past. What a race this has been. We've seen a slightly smaller grid, a lot of work commitments from a lot of drivers, but I tell you what, it has not disappointed with the action. Only 7 drivers on the grid, but one of the best races I've seen. Oh, Andy Dorman go wide.
Andy Dorman's made a mistake there, and is that going to open the door for Brad Smith? Maybe in these closing stages of the race to get into the slipstream and close in. Dorman is really struggling. Is that a sign of the damage, though? He did pick up a bit of a hit, didn't he, coming through the Nelson Brundle section, and his car doesn't look to be quite the way it used to. So Brad Smith could still find him taking his first podium on his debut meeting. I think you can definitely see it on the cards. And I mean, we've all done, as we've been talking in our little Discord chat, where some of the race directors feed us any information they find that we're not seeing on camera. We've all done, haven't we, exactly what Brad just did coming into that corner. You see the instant up in front, and then you're too distracted by the racing to actually realise, oh, there's a corner coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a bit of a shame that Brad's now did that 2 laps in a row.
Set the fastest lap.
Wow, so Mick Sutton, even though he's got a 9-second gap, is still pushing incredibly hard, really putting his stamp on this race, turning into a bit of a Snetterton Mazda, dare I say. I'm going to touch wood and hope I didn't give a commentator's curse there. But you know what? This has been an absolutely stellar drive and a brilliant meeting by Mick Sutton. For me personally, he's really shown he's taken a lot of things on board from the previous races. There's times in the previous where he would have put his nose up the inside if that move wasn't necessarily quite on, really try to make the move a little bit too early. This round he's gone, you know what? I've had the pace here, I've waited, I've calculated my moves, and that's exactly why he's got a clean car and he's got a 9-second gap. Phenomenal drive, Mick Sutton.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll be with you on that one. I'll probably be putting Mick Sutton as my driver of the day. But also, what a race this has been. Snetterton has certainly not disappointed. I was always hoping that the circuit that I've called home, the circuit I've been to numerous times, would provide great racing, and it certainly has. But if you do see all of this and you decide you want to get involved, scroll down in the description of the video of this live stream and you can see the VRRC Discord. If you want to get involved, join there and send a message. We can get that sorted out for you. It is, of course, run by virtualrealityracingclub.com. You can also check out the website in the description to get involved. But honestly, it's been a brilliant evening's racing here at Snetterton. And Mick Sutton, he's going to be coming out on top. yet again for the second time this evening. It's really suited him. We weren't expecting too much before we came live. We thought it might be Andy Dorman's way from the times he was setting in practice, but Mick Sutton, when it's counted, he's found that extra level, measured driving as well. He's developed so much just in these first 4 rounds, and Mick will take both race victories this evening in dominant fashion. It has to be said, 9 seconds clear of Simon Reed, who's going to be very happy with the second place, and Andy Dorman coming home in third. So it's the same drivers on the podium in the second race as they were in the first, but a slight rearrange as Simon Reed comes out on top there in second place ahead of Andy Dorman. But Dave, the drivers there really racing into the comms box. I have a word with you now.
Yeah, definitely. I know you're on your cool down lap here, Mick. Actually, we'll leave Mick for the last, actually. We'll go to our third place finisher, Andy Dorman. Is your mic live, Andy?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, spot on. So, yeah, probably a little bit of a frustrating race for you. You know, you seem to have a real good pace out there, but it was just a few little mistakes that just ended up costing you little bits of time and then having to do all that work again.
A couple of mistakes on my part. Brad did really well in the first half of that race, though.
Yeah, we were commenting on that. You know, Brad, a newcomer at the championship, phenomenal driving to start with. You know, he's really shown that, you know, if he'd been here from the start, could have been a real contender for the front runners, including yourself.
Yeah, I think he'll be up there in the next championship, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know it's maybe been a little bit of a frustrating meeting for yourself, Andy, but still phenomenal driving and still a double podium as well. So keeping your championship hopes alive there. Great racing, and looking forward to seeing how you do in the next round.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
I will move on to Simon Reed, second place. You looked very excited there as you crossed the line, just enough to hold on to second place ahead of Andy Dorman.
Yeah, I had to work hard for it, and I wasn't expecting to be able to get in front of Andy, but as you were saying, he made a couple of mistakes which allowed me to get past, and this time I managed to keep him behind me.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to mention Brad again. For all he isn't on the podium, he could have very easily been on the podium. You know, really shown that he can drive amongst you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad's got great pace. He showed that today, and yeah, I think if he keeps racing in this in the MX-5 and future cups, we'll see some interesting races with him.
Well, indeed, and I guess you can't be too disappointed with the championship points haul. I know Mick Sutton's had a perfect weekend, really, but you know, damage limitation, still a great point haul for yourself.
Yeah, I think given the pace that the other guys had compared to mine, I couldn't have asked for much of a better result than I've had, and yeah, well done to Mick. He absolutely dominated it this tonight.
Well, we'll move on to him now, but congratulations there, Simon, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what you can do in the next round.
Thank you very much, Dave. Looking forward to it.
Moving on to Mick Sutton. I think you've deserved your Budweiser tonight, and that must be a fair big smile on your face.
Yeah, I must admit I'm pretty happy with that. That's the first time we had a win, and we didn't just get one, we got bloody 2, and a pole, and a fastest lap. So I'm actually quite happy about that, but I could see that, you know, obviously Brad in that race I thought was absolutely fantastic at the start of that second race. To defend, you know, from Andy for as long as he did was absolutely brilliant. I thought he drove a fantastic race. Fantastic.
Yeah. And you know what? I've got to
say, work hard to get past him, I'll tell you. I had to work hard.
It was so clean as well, and the moves that were going on. But, you know, the drive that you've put on today has also secured your driver of the day, voted by, I think, everyone behind the scenes as well as both me and Ed in the comms box. That move that you put on going in after Hamilton, I mean, that was a move you would have seen, you know, the very, very front runners of eSport do, and you pulled it as if it's the move you do every single day.
Well, it was, you know, it was an opportunist move, I'll be honest, because he was quick into Hamilton, and I thought, yeah, you know, I don't know if I can get him, and I just took a slightly wider line, just got a little bit of a better exit, and yeah, so yeah, it was, it all worked perfectly, and you know, you're right, the academy has taught me to think about what I'm doing a lot more, and I'm going to be forever grateful for this championship. It's been really good for me, and I'm starting to really enjoy this now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you know what? The reason for me why I thought drive of the round was appropriate was, yes, you did a stellar drive, but it's the way you've progressed through the first couple of rounds. You started off, you'll find your feet and maybe a little bit too opportunist at the start with moves that maybe weren't on, or maybe was going to sacrifice exit. And as I said before, you've really developed into a technique that actually today has shown that your racecraft has come on leaps and bounds and brought home 2 wins.
There you go. You can teach an old dog new tricks. What did I tell you? Hey.
Well, that's one way to put it, Mick.
An old dog, if that's what you mean. Yeah.
I'm pleased you're happy with today. I mean, I don't know how you can't be. And you know what? Championship points-wise, it's brought you right up into contention now. You're only 8 points behind Simon Reed, so it's really starting to heat up.
Yeah, hopefully that'll tighten it all up a bit, and we can all have a fantastic race next round. Hopefully. Yeah.
Well, congrats, Mick.
I feel sorry for Andy, to be fair, because he was the quickest lad. There's no question. Andy was the quickest boy on the track. There's no question about that. But he's just had a 2 weekends on the bounce now, or 2 rounds on the bounce. He's had two bad weekends, and if he hadn't have done, then I wouldn't have had the results I have. But that's racing, I guess. So yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Oh, Mick, looking forward to seeing how you do in the next one as well. We'll move on, though. Congratulations, and see you next time.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Good racing. Thanks.
And with that, I think that is all of the drivers we have to interview after a brilliant, entertaining 4th round of this Academy MX-5 Championship here at Snetterton. I don't know if I agree, though, with what Mick Sutton said at the end of his little chat with you, because I definitely think he was probably one of the faster guys out on circuit. I think he set the fastest lap in that final race as well, so he's definitely shown some good turn of pace, and who knows, when we come into the next round in a week's time at Thruxton, the 5th of July, well, we could be seeing him out on top at Thruxton. Dave, that's going to be a great circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? That really is, for me, the track that, you need a good set of kahunas, really, to really get the most out of the car. And you know what? Mick is such a character, and it's so nice to have, people like that part of the championship that, really bring it with a bit of character, if you like. It's about personality, it's about individuals, and you know what? We are set for such a championship here. 3 and now 4 drivers. You've got to remember, Brad is right in this. Yes, he maybe can't win the championship from where he's at, but he's definitely going to be mixing it with the big boys at the top. So this is going to get really exciting towards the end.
Yeah, Thruxton, well, the fastest circuit in the UK, they call it, and it's a real true driver's track. But which driver will come out on top? I think only time will tell, but you'll have to stay tuned to VRRC. If you've not already, make sure you subscribe and keep up to date with all of the action. I believe we have the Race of Champions, the League of Champions, rather, the touring cars tomorrow at Imola, a circuit that I really love, so I might be tuning in on that one. I'll be in the comments typing away with you, I'm sure. But from me and from Dave, it's goodbye. Take care and stay safe, and we'll see you all in a week at Thruxton.
The inside of coats.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.